What are you going to do today to get viewers to watch your TV station, your cable station, your cable show, your blog, your post, your video blog? What are you going to do to capture their attention, to read your newsletter? What people are doing is they create hype, right, with subject lines or the words they use. So, it interrupts people's day. And what they find out is the more hypey, to a degree, they make their subject lines, the more likely it is for someone to open their email or read their blog or read their post or read their tweet or watch their show, their cable show, their TV show. And there's just this craziness that's going on out there. And people are confusing the craziness for actual real data. And this past week, there's been some there's craziness all the time, but there's some craziness going on. And I just want to put its craziness in its place and call it what it is, which is crazy. And want to show you how if you can cut the crazy from your life, from your financial life, actually from all of your parts of your lives, then you can have a better life, a more fun life, a more connected life, a more loving life, a richer life, both financially and emotionally and spiritually, by getting the craziness out of your life. So in this week's podcast, I have one price chart I want to show you that proves my point far better than any other book or anything else can prove, because images are so darn powerful to the human brain. And I want to share that one price chart with you to prove how the more craziness you cut, the better your life is. Hey everybody, this is RC Peck, and this is my weekend podcast. And the theme for this weekend's podcast is Hype Wars. Who hypes it the most? Is CNBC hyping it more than Bloomberg, than Fox Business News, than Zero Hedge? Who's hyping it the most? And there's just these wars on. Is Porter Stansberry hyping it more than Steve Sugarrood? Is which newsletter company is hyping it more for you? Is it Fool.com? And look, to be completely transparent, I get pulled into it too sometimes. Sometimes I think, what, I got to do a really good subject line on my email so people open it and they watch my video. It is exhausting. And it's exhausting. And so there's hype wars going on. And there's a hype war going on right now between the US and China. And it's around currencies. And this week, China's currency devalued a little bit, or dropped a little bit in value against the US dollar. And it's almost as if the missile doors were opened on the silos with missiles pointed towards the west coast of the United States, like this is a war, and it's ridiculous. There's such hype wars going on right now everywhere. So if you want to lead a better life, you cut out the hype or the craziness, and the way you do that is by cutting out news. Now, I stopped watching news in 1997, still haven't missed it. My mom gets mad at me once or twice a year because I don't watch the news, which I find interesting. I was at my family vacation at the UCLA family camp 2 weeks ago, and I told someone that, well, I don't watch the news. And they got mad. Well, how do you get your news? What news do I need to get? Right? I mean, everything I need to get, I get. But it's interesting how people actually get mad about it. So I want to share with you this one price chart. And here's the price chart right here. Now there's 5 squiggly lines on this price chart. At the very top, there's a red one. And that's the Chinese yuan or the Chinese renminbi. Same thing. And this is a price chart going back 1 year. So it's a year-long price chart. And all of these are currencies. All these squiggly lines are currencies being compared against the US dollar. So the red line at the top is the Chinese renminbi, and it's down 2.85% against the US dollar over the last 12 months. 2.85%. The next line below that is a green one, and that's the Canadian currency, which happens to be called a Canadian dollar, and that's down 16% against the US dollar. Below that one is a blue line, which is the euro. That's down almost 18%. Now, the euro represents the largest economic section of the planet. All the countries that make up the euro is the biggest economic bloc anywhere on the planet. And that currency is down, to be exact, 17.62% against the US dollar. That's a huge currency. Below that one is one of the largest currencies on the planet, too. In fact, the third largest currency on the planet, and that's the Japanese yen, down 18%, actually a little bit over 18%. So we've got two of the three largest currencies on the planet down 17 to 18% against the US dollar over the last year. Whew, currencies fluctuate. And then the very last one at the very bottom is Australia, that teeny little country down there in the southern hemisphere somewhere. That's big in size, but only has about 30 million people. That's down 20.51%. So when you look at this price chart, yes, the Chinese currency dropped 2.85% over the last year. And yes, the drop over the last couple of days was definitely out of range of what was happening the last year. But if you study currencies over, any period of time, 50 years, 100 years, 150, 200 years, currencies do this. This is what currencies do, especially when they're backed by governments, which the definition of that is a fiat-based currency. So such hype wars going on around something that China probably should have been doing anyway. And all this talk came out around the manipulation of the Chinese government. Well, guess what? They had to manipulate the yuan a lot to keep it pegged to the dollar. It probably wanted to get devalued over time. So when you find yourself getting caught up, and I get caught up, we're all humans here living on planet Earth, but when you find yourself getting caught up, do yourself a favor, pull up a price chart, just look at the close of the day over a 1-year period and just go, really? Maybe you need to be concerned. I don't know. Maybe it's like, oh my gosh, I need to be concerned. But, probably 98% of the time, you don't need to be concerned. And it's just the hype war machine that is going on. And the hype war machine, the news machine is very, very, very painful to people's future and their security. So here we are. What do we do with this information? Well, the first is news is killing your future. Obviously, this is my personal belief. I don't actually know you specifically, but my guess is if someone is reading a lot of news, it's probably not good for their health. And especially, it's not good for their portfolio. So what's the takeaway? I get that you're human. I'm human. If you like getting newsletters from Porter and Steve and Fool.com, I understand it's fun. They are amazing writers. They're some of the best storytellers anywhere. Get it, read the story, share it with your friends at the club, and so you can show how much you know about something. But more importantly, put your money into a method that works, that has math on its side, that has statistics on its side, that has history on its side, that has probability on its side, and let that manage the majority of your money. So maybe you put 80 or 90% into the strategy that I call market probability. Go do that and do some trading with the other 5 or 10%. And you'll be much more secure. Your portfolio will be more secure. Your future will have more freedom and choices because of doing that. Put the majority of your money in a system and an approach that works. Right? And there's two parts to that. The first part is you actually got to learn what it is. You have to identify that there's something out there, which, as it turns out, isn't even the more difficult of the two parts. And the second part is if you can't implement it, in the first month, then get somebody to implement it for you. John Templeton figured this out early in his life, that he could figure out the strategy, he could figure out the approach, but he would not implement it properly. He'd mess it up. So he hired someone. If you don't know, John Templeton, very wealthy man when he died, he had a net worth in the 20 billion area. Get off the news. It's killing the future of the portfolio. Hey guys, thanks so much. This is just another step in helping you secure your portfolio and secure your future. Until next time, this is RC Peck.